Yeah, dude.
Now I'm in loony bin number 2, and guess who showed up as a patient? It was Mike Tyson. And I know it's fucked up to say that, right? But he doesn't mind a bit. The fact is I was locked up in a psychiatric ward with the former heavyweight boxing champion of the world, who I had done a whole bunch of drugs with back in the day. Yeah, years ago, I watched Mike Tyson smoke more coke than I've ever seen anybody smoke. I was so impressed, I just kept giving him more. Yeah. We burned through 5 grams, and when it was gone, I was like, you win. So I was not shocked to see Mike show up at that hospital.
I was happy to see you because I've been there a couple of times. I haven't seen anybody that I knew. I've seen somebody that I knew, so that was pretty cool.
And the truth is, I was thrilled because I wanted so badly to film a stunt with him when we got out. The whole time we're in there, I'm pitching it to him. I'm saying, Mike, all I need you to do is hold your fist out and let me run into it with my face. It's called the black eye game, and I've never lost. As hard as I tried, all Mike would say was, I don't want to hurt you, Steve. Don't do that. And I couldn't talk him into it at that time, but it was just as well. I had much more important shit to worry about, like learning how to live without drugs and booze. And I wanted my life to get better desperately, so I went back to rehab. As dedicated to my recovery as I was, I didn't want to work at all. I just wanted to hide out in my dingy little halfway house. But then Knoxville calls. He says, we're making Jackass 3D. Are you in? And I said, it's not like I can turn down only the 3rd good job I've ever been offered. Of course I did it. But I quickly learned that there's something about filming a Jackass movie when you're newly clean and sober that sucks. I had to do all this crazy life-threatening bullshit with a newfound sense of clarity and concern for my health. And in those early days, I was so uptight about my health. I had to go jogging before we filmed, eat all my organic veggies on the set. One day we're sitting there with our brother, Ryan Dunn. God rest his soul. Ryan was so funny. He looks at me. He says, you went from eating crack off of dead hookers to raw broccoli? What the fuck? And that pretty much sums up what I was like on that movie. So when it was my job to get inside a porta potty that was chock full of shit and then get catapulted up into the sky, you know what I did before I got in that porta potty? I jacked up. Now, I put on a pair of swimming goggles and a nose plug.
Look pretty happy about it.
I even stuffed earplugs into my ears. The question is, why did I bother, considering as soon as they launched that thing, I was screaming my head off with my mouth wide open. It looked like a game of fucking Pac-Man in there. We played back the video right away, and Knoxville said, if your mouth wasn't so wide open, that poo might have hit you in the face. And another day on the set of that movie, it was really important to me to try to shoot my nipple off with a BB gun. The director and pretty much everybody else knew this idea was way too dark and fucked up to ever include in the movie, but they let me do it anyway. Because it was a convenient way to keep me in one spot in front of the super slow motion camera so my buddy Bam could throw water in my face while he sucker punched me in super slow-mo. So sure enough, Wee Man fires the BB into my nipple. Fire!
Fuck. Is it in there? What?
Oh! Wow. It is still in there to this day.
Can you feel where the BB is?
Yeah, look.
Right there.
Oh, wow.
And it's spouting blood, and I'm like, whoa. And here comes the water. Bam sucker punches me so hard, he completely broke my nose. I was so fucking pissed about that. for so long. The last time I saw Bam, I snuck up behind him.
How do you write a ticket for somebody duct taped to the side of a bus? What's the fine?
I threw water in his face, and then I learned that I punch like a serious pussy. I felt like I was in a dream or something.
And look.
It was so awful, man. That hurt me more than him.
I've seen people high-five harder than that.
When Bam broke my nose, I fumed about it for 2 months until I finally snapped. I said, I don't like the way it looks, I'm getting it fixed, and the movie's paying for it. So I went to this fancy Beverly Hills nose doctor. He says, I would love to help you, but it's been 2 months. It's already healed like that. If you want me to fix it now, he says, I'm gonna have to re-break it with a chisel and then set it straight. So I told him, it doesn't bug me that much. And I lived with my crooked ass nose for another whole year until the Comedy Central roast of Charlie Sheen.
Your nose is like my ass. There's nothing you won't shove up there.
And guess who was there? Motherfucking Mike Tyson. And I was not about to let Mike off the hook so easy this time. I called up the agent who booked us both. I said, motherfucker, you're telling Mike he's holding out his fist and I'm running into it with my face. And that did the trick. So the last thing that happened on stage at the Charlie Sheen roast, Mike Tyson held out his fist. That thing is so big, it looks like that. And I went sprinting for it. I dove face first, bullseye.
Come on, Steve-O.
Don't hurt me!
And Mike leaned into it just enough to leave my nose parked under my right eye. It was just like, it was so broken. And I went through a lot of emotions in that moment, starting with ouch. And then I'm on the ground, I'm thinking, this might be the coolest thing that has ever happened. Maybe I'm gonna be so fucking famous for this. And as I'm getting up, I can see with my own eyes, my nose is nowhere near where it's supposed to be.
Broken nose.
And a wave of panic comes over me. I'm thinking, I'm gonna look terrible forever. And it starts gushing blood. I'm trying to play it off like I'm really happy about all this, like. But the truth is that I was embarrassed because I could see all the celebrities thinking that was really creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck?
And I'm standing there bleeding, everybody's getting up and starting to leave, but there's one dude in the crowd just hollering, Steve-O, your nose needs to be set right now. And that sounds right. So I turn to the guy, filled with hope, and he goes, I'm a Kung Fu instructor, I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, fuck, so close. And now I have to make a difficult decision on the spot. All I could come up with was, I don't think he's gonna make it look worse. So I trusted him, sat on the edge of the stage. He put a thumb on either side of my nose and just wrenched it back into the middle, not gentle. He kept mushing it and smashing it and fucking with it until he kung fu'd that shit just about perfect. I got a Mike Tyson Kung Fu nose job for free.
America. If you thought Jackass Forever was crazy, oh boy do I have a show for you. It's a multimedia comedy show called The Bucket List Tour. And the stuff I filmed for this show is way too hot for Jackass. Like the general anesthesia bike ride, the vasectomy Olympics, and skyjacking. The footage is so intense, we have full-grown men passing out at almost every city this bus goes to. So if you think you can handle it, get your tickets right now at steveo.com. Yeah.